My friends and I were brainstorming video game ideas at our university library. My favorite concepts we discussed drew inspiration from this game. Civ Clicker is a 2013 web game that we all used to play in our Chromebooks during class. In Civ Clicker, you click to gather resources, build stuff, and grow up your civilization. It's basically a clicker incremental game. It's super addictive, and we had lots of thoughts of how it could be visually reimagined. I was thinking something like, okay, so to start, I created a new Unity project. I wanted to start with the tiles, so I found a picture of a hexagon online. I made the background transparent and dragged it into my scene. I arranged several of these hexagons into a pattern. I used several box colliders to give them a collision area. It's pretty janky, but it works for now. C# scripts can be written that control and alter the game objects in the scene. I'll create a script for the camera and for the tile. By casting a ray in the direction of the cursor, we are able to access tiles below the cursor. I'm showing the hexagon sprite if a collision occurs, but hiding it otherwise. I'm also keeping track of the selected tile so I can reference it later. I wanted to have a menu on the right side of the screen that would appear when clicking on a tile. Using Photoshop's generative AI tool, I created a temporary wood texture for the game window. So now when a tile is clicked, this new window game object will appear, as well as the tile's outline. Next up was to give the tiles a real 3D model. Using ChatGPT as a teacher, we learned how to use Blender to create a basic hexagonal volume. I wanted the tiles to represent the land and together to make an island. I created a nice green material for the tiles and a reflective blue material, because every good island needs an ocean surrounding it. So to make water, I started by writing a script that would create a 200 by 200 mesh. We can manipulate the points on this grid with mathematical functions. I played around with several variations, including trigonometric functions, but eventually settled with Perlin noise. Perlin noise is a built-in function that we can use to generate natural-looking patterns. I added delta time to the x and y coordinates that I am using as the input to my Perlin function, so that the waves appear to move across the world. After lots of debugging, I finally got to an alright looking flow. Next, I wanted to put together a menu. I first downloaded a free font called Enchanted Land and put together a basic menu. We have buttons for options, exit, and to play. When we click play, the camera flies over to our tiles, which at this point I want to be looking a lot neater. I've turned one of our tiles into a prefab by dragging it into the asset folder. Now we are able to instantiate this prefab into the scene during runtime with code. I wrote a script which adds hexagonal rings of tiles around a central point. We can change the number of rings with this variable here. I think 7 looks like a nice number of layers for now. Okay, at this point, I had a solid starting point and I was thinking ahead about the project. Around this time, I made a game design document with my friend Ryan. He agreed to create 3D models for the game in Blender and help with the game's marketing when the time comes. The game design document included a list of features and requirements that would be needed to be complete before the game's release, which we decided would be in August of 2024. Currently, it's January 2024. Plans for the game included improved graphical changes, improved tile functionality, UI development, a data structure that would keep track of the upgrade tree, dynamic hexagon spawning, saving and loading, terrain generation, efficient water rendering, a resource harvesting system, a day-night cycle, clouds, mini upgrades, post-processing, trade, conquest, swarms, dynamic pathway, sounds, music, and Projects like this used to feel incredibly daunting. I mean, huge projects like this take a lot of time to complete. But a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I try to work on the project every day, and most days I find the time. I'll use a calendar to balance my school, work, social life, and game development objectives. I'll track my work and thoughts in a Google Doc. To keep track of changes, I'm using GitHub. GitHub uses Git software, which is a version control system that tracks and controls changes to the code. This allows me to completely f up the code and just revert back to old versions of the project. Now that we've got a solid foundation, we're all set to build on it. I want the tiles to display an outline when clicked on or hovered over. I brought in hexagon-shaped rings from Blender and placed them into the tile prefab. I renamed them Clicking Outline and Hovering Outline. I'll make them invisible at the start, but with the tile script, I'll enable and disable them appropriately. Yeah, this is the effect I was going for. Looks nice, but this window that appears when a tile is clicked on doesn't look nice. I'll improve this by first opening Piskel to draw a shape for the window. I'll give it nice rounded corners, and I'll make this one a bit taller. Once I found something I was happy with, I exported it to Unity and replaced the old window with this one. I wanted to have a window on the right side of the screen that would toggle on and off and display information about the selected tile, and a window on the left side of the screen that would display information about the game state. It was a challenge to fit all the information on this tiny window without looking too busy, but I eventually managed to get something I was happy with. I created another sprite to represent a button, which I placed next to the different occupations, allowing the player to adjust the number of people assigned to each job. Alright, so now our game has a main menu, basic tiles, a simple user interface. In the next part, I'll get into the core gameplay and UI development. I'll add more depth and functionality to the game. I will program a saving and loading system, as well as an upgrade tree, and more. You can play the demo for free on Steam right now. The link is in the description. And if you enjoy, please consider wishlisting it. Thank you so much for supporting and watching my video, and I will see you next time.